Now it's time to give you 5 players to watch heading into week 3. And this is one of my favorite features to put together because not only do these athletes have what it takes to make plays on Friday night, but we get to show you as well. And in a lot of cases, we get to show you some of these highlights that they've already put up this season. And we're going to start in our top 10 matchups. Millwood going to Choctaw. Millwood, we mentioned some of the playmakers that they've been missing. One of the guys who has stood up or stepped up here early on in the 2019 season has been Harold Bagby, an athlete for the Falcons who, no matter where you put him on the field, he's going to make plays. And we mentioned this matchup with Choctaw and the health of the Falcons being one of the biggest keys. Harold Bagby is another big key as he can have an impact in a variety of ways for the Falcons. And one thing that I really like about Millwood, and if you've watched them over the last few years, they know how to identify their playmakers and they don't just play them in one specific spot. They move them around on the field. So don't be surprised if you end up seeing this kid in a variety of ways, not only offensively, but defensively as well. Harold Bagby, definitely going to be a player to watch, not only this week against Choctaw, but if Millwood has a big season once again, Bagby will more than likely be a big reason why. We stay in the small school football, but we go to a Division I commit, Jacob Barrett, a standout for Checotah. He's committed to Eastern Michigan, and he's one of the more dynamic, versatile athletes playing small school football in Oklahoma, and he has Checotah ranked for the first time in a long time. We mentioned Checotah last week on our segment Teams on the Rise. They had a big game against Hilldale. Jacob Barrett had a big game as well. He not only performed well, but his team got the win, and now they're ranked number 7 in our Class 3A rankings as Jacob Barrett and Checotah. They have a tough test as they go on the road to take on a Eufaula team that a few weeks ago was ranked in the top 10 in Class 2A. They dropped out after losing a close one to Vian. Vian being one of the top teams in Class 2A as well. Jacob Barrett, a dynamic player. And look, we mentioned that about Harold, and we're kind of sticking with a theme here as he has the ability to beat a team in a variety of ways. Checotah's lining him up at quarterback. And look, he's not known for his arm, but he can sling the ball around. He's definitely a runner, and he can have an impact, like I mentioned, in a variety of ways. A big-time player to watch, Jacob Barrett and Checotah in a huge matchup against Eufaula. Another big game that didn't make it on our top 10 games list, but definitely has merit to be considered one of the top 10 matchups this week is Choctaw against Putnam City North. And that leads us to another Division I commit as a player to watch. This time it's Jeff Roberson, linebacker for Choctaw. He is committed to Oklahoma State. He's a player to watch because this kid is an animal. Choctaw, a team that if you're not paying attention to them now in 6A2, they're going to jump up and surprise some people. And this is a measuring stick game for Choctaw. This is to find out just how good we are. I like what they have offensively. I like what they have defensively. And I love the performance of Roberson at that linebacker spot. He's one of the top players in the state for a reason. But like I mentioned, this is a good opportunity for a Choctaw team that wants to be considered one of the best on the west side in Oklahoma. Perfect opportunity to get a win against a Putnam City North team that's one of the best in 6A1. They have plenty of athletes as well. And if Roberson in this Choctaw defense can slow down a PC North offense that has Division I talent on it, well, you definitely need to watch out for the Yellow Jackets this season. Another top 10 matchup we featured already, Metro Christian taking on Holland Hall. And we mentioned one of the biggest keys is Holland Hall defensively. They have to contain. Especially the running game. You're going to give up some big passes. You're going to give up some big plays. I get it. But if you can contain Asher Link to the pocket, then you're going to have success. And the man that's going to be in charge of doing that is junior Owen Ostrovsky, a defensive lineman on the rise in Oklahoma. he has the ability to move around. And just because we call him a defensive lineman, he, like a lot of these players on this list, have the versatility to move around, play a variety of positions. He'll have an impact on offense. He'll have an impact on the defensive side of the ball. But if he and this Holland Hall defense can contain Metro and that running attack, that's what really hurt Holland Hall in their matchup with Metro last season, was Metro's rushing attack against the Dutch. If they can contain and bottle up Asher Link and the running attack from Metro, then they have a shot to pull off the upset. And our final player to watch, we go back to our #1 game of the week. It's Edison running back Savion Morrison, another Division I commit. He's committed to Nebraska, and he broke Edison great Spencer Tillman. You might recognize that name, football fans. Hall of Famer Spencer Tillman. His school, all-time school rushing record, Savion Morrison was able to break the career record for most yards in Edison school history last week. He has his entire senior season ahead of him to go ahead and pad those stats and pad that record and make it one that may not be reached in the future of Edison football. But this is obviously a huge matchup for Edison and the Eagles going up against Claremore. And if you go back to last week, Claremore let one slip away against Sapulpa, and what hurt them the most? The Sapulpa running game, whether it was the Chieftain running back or Chieftain quarterback Eli Williams, who finished with nearly 250 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns on the ground. Claremore definitely had problems slowing down the run. That's not what you want when you're going up against arguably the best running back in the state in Savion Morrison. Now, Claremore did a good job bottling up Savion last year, but that was last year. There's definitely concerns, and there's definitely opportunities to take advantage. If you're Edison, especially, you have to be feeling confident after seeing Sapulpa run up and down the field last week. Savion Morrison, our final player to watch heading into week 3. If he's able to run wild, similar to what Sapulpa was able to do last week, it could end up being a long night for the Claremore Zebras.